going straight back to lap 1, it's the race start. And I want to talk to you about Fernando Alonso.
Mm.
Now, Alex, I assume you already know where this is going. Alonso took a pretty creative line through turn 1, completely going off the track and what looked like rejoining at full throttle. He didn't look at any point. And the point I'm trying to make is, so approaching turn 1, he was on the far left of the racetrack, and obviously it's a 90-degree right-hand turn. At no point did it look like he was going to slow the car down in time to make that corner. So he decided to go off the track, which you're allowed to do to avoid an incident, and he went through the polystyrene arrows, which is what he was told to do if he ever went off the track. All the drivers were briefed, and then rejoined at pretty much full throttle, keeping his position. If Fernando didn't do the exact same thing on the formation lap, I would have called this an accident and maybe one of these things to overlook. But because he did the exact same move on the formation lap and then repeated it in the race, I have some questions for you, Alex. Did he break any rules, considering how he rejoined was absolutely fine? Was this a tactical move to avoid the turn 1 carnage? And did this move deserve a punishment of any kind?
I feel like those questions give me more authority than I have.
Well, you are now the FIA.
Yeah, it's like apparently
what do you make of the incident?
Somebody's died to put me in charge of those kind of questions. Well, the first is it against the rules, or did he break any rules?
Yeah, did he break any rules?
So as I understand it, if you are not going to make it past a certain point of the corner, you have to go round those bollards.
Yep.
And I think the rules, I don't know exactly what the rules say. If I should have actually looked these up, and I won't do it now, but I would imagine it probably says something about a specific point on the track, and that if the driver's unable to do that, they have to go around the bollards, otherwise they'll get a penalty. But I'm guessing it probably doesn't say anything about you have to actually have the intention to go round the corner in the first place.
Yeah.
And I assume that's what Alonso has done. I don't think he should get a penalty for it, because they've set up that part of the track, and it's their responsibility to ensure that it is a disadvantage to take that route. And they haven't done that. It's basically a straight line. You can just straight line through it, can't you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, fantastic spatial awareness from Fernando Alonso, because that gap between the two polystyrene
he's found a great
bits,
loophole.
Oh yeah, yeah. And if anyone was going to exploit it, it would be Alonso. Because
they've essentially designated a sort of extra part of the track, really, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's not on the track, but at the same time, it sort of is part of it in a way. I'm not quite sure how the rules make it work. Like, you can go that way. Like, you are literally forced to take that route.
Yeah.
If you can't sort of make it on the normal part of the track, it's like a sort of surplus bit of track. I'm not quite sure how the rules handle it exactly. But it's a great little loophole that he's found to, like you say, potentially gain a reasonable advantage, it looked like.
Well, he didn't gain any positions, but more importantly, he didn't lose any positions being on the outside of turn 1, where there was like 3 or 4 cars on the inside of him, which would have had the optimal racing line. So by coming off and then rejoining at a significant speed, and I don't doubt that it was in a safe manner, because he was in full control of that vehicle at all times, and he went through the arrows. He managed to keep that position going into turn 3 or 4, whatever it is, after the long left-hander. And what puzzles me is that this hasn't been looked into at all. Like,
we're not going to be here next year.
Well, no, we aren't here next year, aren't we? We've got one more race left, haven't we?
No, I think this is the last one, isn't it? This is the last one at Sochi, I thought.
Oh, okay.
And then next year it's at some place in St. Petersburg or near St. Petersburg or something.
Yeah.
That was what I was thinking, because I thought that the FIA probably, and the stewards and that, they probably saw it happen and were like, well, we can either make a bit of a stink about it,
or we can pretend it didn't happen.
Or just sort of be like, well, fair enough, you found a loophole, we're not going to be here next year, so it's not like we're going to say, from this point onwards, you've got to do X, Y, Z, because unless it's about this track specifically, it's kind of maybe not that useful and just seems a little bit wishy-washy unless it's about a specific instance. I don't think he should be punished, though, because it seems to me like he just found a loophole. So,
Fair enough. Interestingly, though, the F1 YouTube channel 6 hours ago uploaded a video titled Fernando Alonso Overtaking Masterclass of 2021 Russian Grand Prix. And that Turn 1 incident didn't feature in the highlights, coincidentally, even though he managed to stay ahead of anybody. But he managed to stay ahead of a lot of cars. But I just found out, as I was typing my race notes up, I was watching the highlights on YouTube, and then I thought, hold on a second, I was just about to write about this guy and how he maintained an advantage by coming off the track.
If by doing it, it meant that he'd come onto the track dangerously, I guess that'd be different. But like you said, he was in control. It wasn't like a dangerous re-entry or anything. So, yeah.
It was much better than Sainz last year, let's be honest.
Oh, God. Just drove into the wall.
Just drove straight into it at 150 miles an hour.
Dear.
Oh, blimey.